He stopped me from getting my stuff out and pushed me down and said, "You're not going anywhere. I can't let you leave." He pushed me down to where I fell on the floor. Then he got on top of me. I'm on my back, laying like this. He got on top of me, and I'm sitting there screaming and crying. I'm just like, "Please, just let me up, just let me up, just let me up." He got on top of me and held me down and said, "I don't want you to leave." He just started hollering and screaming and saying, you be," just calling me up my name, just saying, you're making my life hard. And then all of a sudden he would go from calling me names and being super aggressive to just really soft and like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for saying it. I'm so sorry for saying it. I didn't mean it. You just made me do it. I didn't mean to act like that. I didn't mean to punch the wall. I wasn't going to punch you. I wasn't going to touch you. I didn't mean any of that." It was like God opened my eyes and he was just like, "Why are you living like this? Literally, why are you living like this? This is not the life I have for you." And so I would say to you, any of you women out there who are dealing with abuse, why are you living like this? That is not the life that God has for you. It never has been, never was, never will be. Hey y'all, so if you haven't heard, Cassie, a former artist under P. Diddy's wing, came out recently and accused the rap mogul of rape and domestic violence. What's even more unsettling is the $30 million payment that quickly came about afterwards, raising questions about the silencing power of money in abuse cases. So today we're going to kind of dive into that story, and then I'm going to dive into the tactics that abusers employ to keep their victims silent and ways that you can continue on with your life after you've left an abuser. I'm going to dive into my own personal story that I have as a survivor, and hopefully I'll be able to shed some light on the victim mentality of a person who's being abused and why they tend to stay with their abuser or go back to their abuser and have a hard time finding life afterwards. Because I've been through it, I can understand. So y'all stay tuned and let's get into it. Okay, so first I'm going to read the preliminary statement that Cassie and her lawyers put out. All right, let me pull it up. So this was filed in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York. Cassandra Ventura, and I'm not sure if you pronounce it Cassandra or Cassandra. So Cassie, plaintiff versus Sean Combs. Trigger warning. This document contains highly graphic information of a sexual nature, including sexual assault. Plaintiff Cassandra Ventura, Miss Ventura, hereby alleges as and for her complaint against defendant Sean Combs. Preliminary statement. Defendant Sean Combs is a rapper and record executive popularly known by his stage names Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, or Diddy. Mr. Combs came to fame in the early 1990s with his record label Bad Boy Records. He rose to prominence in the music and entertainment industry over the decades and is regularly referred to as a hip-hop mogul. In 2022, Mr. Combs received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the BET Awards. During his acceptance speech, Mr. Combs stated, "I have to give a special shout out, thank you, love, to the people that was really there for me." He named a number of people before adding, "and also Cassie, for holding me down in the dark times, love." The truth, however, is that Cassie, Miss Cassandra Ventura, was held down by Mr. Combs and endured over a decade of his violent behavior and disturbed demands. For Miss Ventura, the dark times are those she spent trapped by Mr. Combs in a cycle of abuse, violence, and sex trafficking. Among other violent and unlawful acts, Mr. Combs raped Miss Ventura in her own home after she tried to leave him, often punched, beat, kicked, and stumped on Miss Ventura, resulting in bruises, burst lips, black eyes, and bleeding. Blew up a man's car after he learned that he was romantically interested in Miss Ventura. Forced Miss Ventura to engage in sex acts with male sex workers while masturbating and filming the encounters. Ran out of his apartment with a firearm in pursuit of a rival industry executive whom he learned was nearby. Demanded that Miss Ventura carry his firearm in her purse just to make her uncomfortable and demonstrate how dangerous he is. and introduced Miss Ventura to a lifestyle of excessive alcohol and substance abuse and required her to procure illicit prescriptions to satisfy his own addictions. Miss Ventura met Mr. Combs in 2005 when she was 19 years old and he was 37. He signed her to his label, Bad Boy Records, and within a few years lured Miss Ventura into an ostentatious, fast-paced, and drug-fueled lifestyle and into a romantic relationship with him, her boss, one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry and a vicious, cruel, and controlling man nearly 2 decades her senior. Mr. Combs asserted complete control over Miss Ventura's personal and professional life, thereby ensuring her inability to escape his hold. He provided unprecedented avenues for success for the aspiring artist, but in return demanded obedience, loyalty, and silence. Throughout the relationship, Mr. Combs was prone to uncontrollable rage and frequently beat Miss Ventura savagely. These beatings were witnessed by Mr. Combs' staff and employees of Bad Boy Entertainment and Mr. Combs' related businesses, but no one dared to speak up against their frightening and ferocious boss. Following these episodes of horrific abuse, Mr. Combs would immediately attempt to hide Miss Ventura and the evidence of his violent rage. He often showered her with gifts following incidents of physical violence, a typical pattern of behavior by serial abusers. In addition to the physical assaults, Mr. Combs frequently reminded Miss Ventura of his ability to cause serious harm, whether by requiring her to carry his gun in her purse or by blowing up the car of a musician that was romantically interested in Miss Ventura. Adding insult to injury, Mr. Combs used illegal substances and threats of violence to force Miss Ventura into repeated unwanted sexual encounters with male sex workers. Over the years that Mr. Combs abused Miss Ventura physically and sexually, she again and again tried to escape his tight hold over her life. Every time she hid, Mr. Combs' vast network of corporations and affiliate entities found her, and those who worked for Mr. Combs' companies employed her to return to him. Many went as far as to explicitly state that her failure to return to Mr. Combs would hinder her success in the entertainment industry. When she believed that she had finally separated from her longtime abuser, she joined Mr. Combs for a dinner, after which he forced her into her home and raped her while she repeatedly said no and tried to push him away. Miss Ventura has now fully escaped Mr. Combs, but the harm that the assaults and sexual abuse he caused her to experience for nearly a decade will forever haunt her. She has required intensive medical and psychological care to recover from the trauma she lived through. She cannot, however, continue to live in silence about what she endured. Mr. Combs remains immensely powerful and immensely dangerous. Miss Ventura therefore seeks justice for the decade of her life that Mr. Combs took away from her with threats of violence, excessive use of drugs, physical and psychological abuse, and sexual slavery. Accordingly, Ms. Ventura brings this action seeking injunctive, declaratory, and monetary relief against defendants in violation of federal sex trafficking laws. Okay, so when I read Cassie's story, if it is true what she is saying, it broke my heart. So, my story happened over a decade ago. I've never spoken about this publicly on camera, but today is the day. Let's just call him David. I met him in 2007. We were at the same school, college. Both of us had dreams of becoming a doctor. His dad was actually already a medical doctor. I also learned early on that he was the valedictorian of his high school. He said all the right things. He was he had all the right manners. Seemed like he knew how to treat a woman. Basically blossomed into a friendship from there. We never got into a relationship before we entered into a sexual situation. Well, not long after starting that situationship, I got pregnant, okay? So after I got pregnant, this was maybe a couple of months after I met him. I found out I was pregnant for the first time, was not happy, I was scared. Well, because I was raised in the church, there was something in me that knew that I needed to marry him. There's one thing that I would say about the church is that the church kind of makes you believe that, if you get pregnant, that you need to marry the guy that you got pregnant by to make everything look right. But I'm going to just say this right here, that if you're in this situation and you get pregnant by a guy and you guys, maybe weren't dating, or if you were dating, you didn't know whether you wanted to marry him or not yet, you didn't really know him, don't feel pressured to marry him. That's not God's will that you marry him just because you got pregnant by him. That can lead to the worst things ever if you keep going down a road that God never intended for you to go down in the first place. If you open a door and walk through, a door that God never opened for you in the first place. It's just going to be disaster. And so that's basically what happened for me. I found out I was pregnant. I told him, and I told him that maybe we should start dating. Maybe we should try to make it work. Maybe we should see, horrible mistake. Horrible mistake. So he decided, okay, yeah, we can try to make it work. We can try to get into a relationship and see where it goes. And so we did. I went through the pregnancy. I didn't move in with him then while I was pregnant. I stayed pregnant throughout school. I had my daughter in May of 2008, but I did take off that next semester. So a year after I met him in 2008, I moved in with him. And we basically tried to make it work that way. By that time, I don't think I saw any evidence of, I think there were red flags. I just can't remember what they were, because I do remember thinking to myself, okay, there were red flags and I should have noticed it. There were probably things like him getting mad. He used to get mad a lot, like just over little things. And he wouldn't do anything. He would just kind of get mad, just get really mad. And I would be like, how can you go from 0 to 100 like that, But I never really saw anything major happen. It was just he would get really, really upset or angry. He would call me out my name. He would basically just do things to demean me and make me feel less than. That was the main thing with him. Well, I'm going to tell you about this one incident that kind of changed everything. We were in his apartment one night. I was at home as usual because I had taken off that semester. I was at home. We had our daughter. She was a few months old. She had been born in May, so she might have been like, I don't know, less than 6 months. And me and her was sitting on the couch, and I was watching TV when he made it home from somewhere. I don't know where he had been, but he came in the house and he went into the kitchen and was doing something. And he said to me, the kitchen was right there. We was an apartment, so the kitchen was right there by the living room. I could look over and see him. He said that he wanted to watch TV. Well, I told him that I was watching something. He proceeded to tell me to give him the remote. And I told him, no, that I'm trying to watch something. Like I was in the middle of a show or something. And all of a sudden, he came over to me, walked over to me, and told me again to give him the remote. Well, I said, no, I'm not giving you the remote. He lunged for the remote to get it out of my hand. I held it back from him. He pulled it anyway, and he pulled it really, really hard and just jerked it out of my hand really fast. Really hard and really fast. And so I've never been a quiet person. I'm literally not the person to be abused because I'm not quiet and submissive like that. Especially when I feel like I've been done wrong. And so I got loud and I was just like, why would you take that from me? Like I was watching something. Why are you doing that? And mind you, by this point, I hadn't really seen heavy evidence of abuse or anything. It was just kind of like he would get mad and just call me out my name and stuff, but I had never been touched or really shown any huge signs of abuse. Well, it changed that day. He grabbed the remote. He began to holler back at me, scream, cuss me out, call me out my name, say that it was his house. I was just there. And he got so mad. And, at the same time, I'm hollering at him why would you that's so disrespectful? Why would you take it from me? He continues to go. Now, he's a big man now. He's about 6'3". By the time he probably was 250 pounds, if not more. He was so mad that he went into the kitchen, grabbed a cup and just slammed it on the ground, just mad. Then he continued to scream and holler. And he was so mad, y'all. I know it sounds kind of unbelievable the way I'm saying it, why he would be this mad over a remote, but literally this is over a remote, not getting the remote to watch TV. He kept hollering and screaming, cussing me out. He was so angry that after he threw the glass on the floor, he went into the hallway. We had a small hallway, still screaming, and just punched the wall. He punched a big hole in the wall. Hand went through the wall. That's when I knew that it was time to go. I grabbed my daughter. I grabbed Haley. I grabbed my daughter. At the time, like I said, she was around less than 6 months, a couple of months. She was just sitting on the couch. I grabbed her up and I told him, I said, we're leaving. I'm not staying here with you acting like this. You just punched a hole in the wall. That means the next thing you're going to do, you're going to try to punch me because that's really what you want to do. You're throwing dishes and stuff. We're about to go. I proceeded to grab Haley up and walk to the door. As I walked to the door to open the door, he ran to the door and stood in front of the door. He locked the door. He stood in front of me. He said, you're not going anywhere. I still remember how I felt. in that moment. I cannot begin to tell y'all how scared I was. I was probably 125 pounds at that time. I had a baby in my arm, and this huge 250-pound guy, 6'3", was standing there stopping me from going out the house. I knew I couldn't fight him. Like, there's no way. So I was scared, but I didn't really want to show him that I was scared. So I begged, I said, please, just let me leave. Let me get Haley. Let us leave. Let us go. You need to calm down. I said, we can talk about this later. Just let me go. He said, no, you're not going anywhere. I said, I need to go. We need to get out of here. Because I was scared to death that something was going to happen to me. And after he locked that door, I was scared that I was not going to make it to see another day. So he wouldn't let me leave. He locked the door. He was still standing in front of the door. So I just walked away from the door. I put Haley down. I put my daughter down on the couch. I picked up my phone and I said, I'm calling 911. I opened my phone. I still remember I had like I think it was called a Razor. It was a flip phone. Flip phones were in then. And I opened it up and he came behind me, pulled the phone out of my hand, forcefully pulled the phone out of my hand and broke it in half in one swipe. Just broke it in half. And he said, you're not calling anybody. At this point, y'all, I'm literally freaking out inside. Like literally freaking out. I leave Haley on the couch and I went into the room and I said, yes, I'm leaving. And I went into the room and I just started kind of grabbing some clothes out of the closet. Like, I got to get out of here. I got to think of a way. Like in my mind, I was thinking I got to think of something because I knew he was just going to stand in front of the door again. And I didn't want Haley to be I didn't want my daughter to be in the middle of anything. She was, and I keep saying Haley. I'm trying not to say Haley, but that's her name. So I'm going to just call her out. I didn't want Haley to be in the middle of it. So I left her on the couch and I went in there and she was just crying. She was just crying and screaming. And she was just crying because it was like a lot of screaming and hollering. And she was just sitting over there crying and I couldn't do anything. And I didn't want her. Sorry, y'all. I didn't want her to get hurt. Like if he tried to do something to me, I didn't want to be holding her. So I left her on the couch and I was just like, I'm gonna get her. And I went to the bedroom and I started trying to get, some clothes. And really in my mind, what I was thinking was, well, maybe if I take him to the bedroom and leave him in there, maybe I can run to the door really quick and get out. I can run to the door, grab Haley and just run and get out. And that was in my mind. So yeah, I was like, maybe if I lure him into the bedroom at the time when he's least expecting it, run away from him, grab Haley and run out the door. So I started acting like I was getting clothes, even though I cared nothing about the clothes that I acted like I was getting. He was pleading with me not to leave, saying that he couldn't live without me. He couldn't live without Haley. He didn't want our family to not be together, that he was so sorry, that he just wanted us to work out and that he wanted to marry me and all this stuff. So I continued to say, okay, just let me leave. And I started getting my stuff out. He stopped me from getting my stuff out and pushed me down and said, you're not going anywhere. I can't let you leave. He pushed me down to where I fell on the floor. Then he got on top of me. I'm on my back, laying like this. He got on top of me and I'm sitting there screaming and crying and just like, please just let me up. He got on top of me and held me down and said, I don't want you to leave. He just started hollering and screaming and saying, you be, just calling me out my name, just saying, you're making my life hard. And then all of a sudden he would go from calling me names and being super aggressive to just really soft and like, oh, I'm so sorry for saying it. I didn't mean it. You just made me do it. I didn't mean to act like that. I didn't mean to punch the wall. I wasn't going to punch you. I wasn't going to touch you. I didn't mean any of that. And I remember sitting there and I was just crying. I was on the floor. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't move. And I was just crying. I was just like, please just let me get Haley. Just let me get Haley. Just let me get her. Let me get her so I can make sure she's okay. Because she was just there. She was in there screaming and hollering too. She was crying. He was just like, I can't let y'all leave me. I can't live without y'all. I said, please, just let me get her. Just please let me get her. She's crying. Just let me get her. He finally let me up and I went in there and I got her. And he didn't follow me. And I looked behind me and he wasn't there. And I grabbed her up and I went to the door. And as I was walking to the door with her from the bedroom, he started hollering and screaming and he said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to shoot myself in the head. I can't do this anymore. Y'all, that freaked me out. And so I went to the room. I didn't want to go to the room, but I went to the room. And he was sitting on the bed and he had a gun to his head. And he was just holding the gun like this, and he had his eyes closed. He was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live without y'all. I'm going to kill myself. I can't live without my family. And Haley was crying, and I was crying, and I was just like, bruh, don't do this. Like, we can talk about this later. Like, don't do this. The next thing I know, there were policemen at the door, banging on the door. He immediately jumped up and, I don't know, put the gun away, hid it. I don't know what he did. I went to the door to answer it, and the police walked in, and they said that they had gotten a disturbance from the neighbors. The neighbors had heard screaming and hollering, and that they came to see what was up. I let them know everything. I told them everything. And so they were questioning me, and they were questioning him, and I told them that he would let me leave. And I said I just want to get my stuff and just leave and go to my auntie's house. Little auntie lived not too far away. And so I went in there, and the officer let me go through and get my stuff, and I left. I left that day. I wish I could say that was the end of it. I do. It should have been the last time I ever talked to him. But in my defense, we do have a daughter together. And so it wasn't the last time. So after that, I think that was the time where I really left him for good. There were other times where he would get, he would seem like he was about to hit me or get violent with me or do something. And he would always come and apologize and buy me things and give me money and say he was sorry and that he didn't mean to do it. He don't know what's wrong with him. It's how he grew up. It's his family life. It's what happened in his childhood. He would blame it on everything but himself. And I would always go back, and my family would sometimes come pick me up. And it got to the point where I was pulling them into it, and they would pick me up, and I would go right back to him because he would apologize and say that he didn't mean to do it. And this happened a lot. This is like a cycle. This happened a lot where I was really literally scared because of how he would go from 0 to 100 in a second. Like, he would get really, really violent in like mere seconds, y'all. Like crazy. And this particular time that I just told you about, though, was the time that I said it's done. Like, I felt terrorized. I mean, I was literally kidnapped. He wouldn't let me leave. Like, I was literally scared for my life. As you guys heard, he had a gun in the house. And so literally anything could happen. Like, I was literally so scared for me. Like, I just knew that was the end of our lives that night. Thank God he kept his hands on us. Well, after that, I decided to move on for real and not go back to him. One more incident occurred, though, and I want to tell y'all about this because I think it's important. It's an important lesson for any woman who is leaving her abuser. Not only should you not go back to him because he's saying he's going to change, but you shouldn't give in to him if he asks you to do something. So let me just tell y'all what happened with me. So we had been completely broken up for several months. The incident I just told y'all about happened around January, February. So around June, Father's Day, I remember because it was around Father's Day. We had been broken up for several months. As a matter of fact, I was kind of talking to my now husband of 7 years. We dated throughout college after him. And I was kind of starting to talk to him. We weren't in a relationship, but we were conversing. And so we were really done. I was really done with my ex. And I was trying my best to move on. I still had issues. I still had things I was trying to get over. I was on the road to recovery. I really was. And so this is around Father's Day, right? So Father's Day 2009. We had been broken up for a while, but he would still text me and want to see his child. And I was not cool with that, honestly, y'all. I was not cool with that. I told him that if he wanted to see his daughter, that we would have to have a mutual person there to make sure that nothing happened. I didn't trust him. And so that was kind of an issue because he didn't want that. He didn't want an extra person there, but it didn't matter to me. That's just how it was. If you want to see your daughter, do what I'm asking you to do. But at that time, it was still kind of I feel like I was kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt. I wasn't going to go back to him, but it's kind of okay, still his dad, still her dad, and all of that. So he asked me, we were going to the same church at the time. I actually had invited him to start going to church with me. So he still continued to go to the same church that I had invited him to after we broke up. So I would still see him at church every now and then. And so this particular Sunday was Father's Day. and he had asked me if I could pick him up to take him to church. He said he just wanted to ride to church. Normally I would have said no. Like, no, I'm not picking you up. But because it was Father's Day and because he felt like it seemed like he really wanted to go, and I started thinking to myself, well, you know, that's not godly of me to not help him out to church. Y'all, if your abuser asks you to take him somewhere, I don't care if it is dealing with God, pray for him. Say, God, send him somebody, because I'm not going to be the one to go. Like, you send him somebody else, because I'm not the one to help him out today. That's what I should have told God. I should have been like, God, look, you find him somebody, because it ain't me. It ain't me, okay? And I don't think the Lord wanted it to be me either. But me, all naive and, you know, trying to do the right thing, I said, okay, sure, I'll pick you up on Sunday. And so I picked him up on Sunday. We went to church together. Not together. I mean, I took him. We went together at church or anything like that. So, you know, church was okay or whatever. So immediately after church, I took him home. I took him to his apartment to drop him off. Well, when we got to the apartment, he started talking about how we should go out to eat because it's Father's Day. And I told him, I said, well, no, I'm not going out to eat with you. We're not together anymore. We're not about to do that. I'm not going out. Well, his excuse was, well, I'm still her dad. It's Father's Day. You should do this one thing for me. I'm a good dad and all of this. And I acknowledged. I said, yeah, you're a good dad to her when it has nothing to do with me. I was like, but this right here, this is nothing I'm going to do because this isn't, I mean, we're really broke up. And I think at that point he realized just how officially done I was with him. And it made him angry again. He went from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds. He's sitting there telling me that I should take him out to eat and we should go out to eat. And I told him, I said, well, no, I'm not taking you. He then says, well, I'm not getting out the car, so I don't know what you're going to do. I said, please get out of my car. I said, I need to go. Please get out of my car. Haley was not in the car then. I guess maybe she was staying with my mom and dad or something, but thankfully she wasn't in the car. I told him to get out of my car. He wouldn't get out of my car. And I said, please, just go. And I could feel it escalating. Like I could feel the tension rising as he continued to argue and say that we needed to go out to eat. After arguing for a while, he goes for my keys in my ignition. He grabs my keys. He jumps out of the car and he throws my keys across the yard. I get out of the car. I'm screaming and fussing. I run for the keys. He takes off for the keys too. He gets to the keys before I do. He picks them up. He throws them again. I run for the keys again. This time I actually get there first. I grab the keys in my hand, y'all. As I'm picking up the keys, he puts his head down to my hands and bites my hand so hard that I scream out and I drop the keys. I have yet to feel a pain that bad. He literally bit my fingers to try to get the keys from me. I look down at my hands. I'm screaming. There's blood just coming from my fingers. I'm holding my hand like this, like, oh my God, like, y'all, so literally, I still have the marks. I can show y'all. Let me show y'all the marks. So I hate to show y'all my fingers because my nails aren't done, but I'm going to show y'all anyway because it's important. So let me find. So on this finger right here, it's right there. It's healed over. Is that's still a mark that was left. And this finger right here, he bit right here. So he bit my two middle fingers. And they were just, I was holding my hands like this, y'all. I was screaming, I was crying. And I got up and I said, oh my God, and I'm screaming and I'm hollering, just give me my keys. I just want to leave. Just give me my keys. I just want to leave. And I'm crying in pain. And he's still screaming and fussing and cussing and calling me out my name and said, I'm not going anywhere. I look over, I look around, looking for some help. I think at this point, I don't know if I had a phone. Maybe I didn't have a phone. Maybe I hadn't gotten another phone by then or something. I don't know, but did I have a phone or did he take the phone? I can't remember, y'all, but for some reason I didn't call 911. I looked around for help. I looked around and there was this guy that was just over there standing in his yard, not in the neighborhood of the apartment, but in the neighborhood across the street behind a fence. He was standing there. He was on the phone. And I remember screaming, please call 911. Please call 911. And I think he may have already been calling 911. Well, when I started hollering, please call 911, my ex got on his cell phone and called for his buddies to come pick him up because he got scared, because he knew that if the police came over and got him again, that he would be in trouble. Not long after that, the police did show up. I talked to the police and told them everything. They wrote up a report. They told me that I need to get a restraining order. So from there on out, I went and I got my restraining order. After I went to the doctor, after I went to the hospital, they wrapped up my fingers. They checked the x-ray. They looked on the x-ray because they thought that maybe my fingers were broken because of how I was holding my hand and because they knew that it could be broken. Well, they did the x-ray and thankfully my fingers were not broken. But I did put some splints on my fingers that I had to wear for a while to kind of keep my, kind of let it heal correctly and to keep my fingers in place. So I had my 2 fingers up like this for a while. I had my splints on my fingers. I went to the courthouse not long after that to the police station to file a restraining order. I had to go to court for that as well. For the restraining order after that to see, about the case. There was a case against him for, I think, assault and battery. I can't remember what it was, but I had to go to court for that. He didn't show up. And the judge actually gave him a second chance, even though he didn't show up. He said that because my ex was in school and trying to become a doctor, he didn't want to ruin his life. And he said, I'm going to give him another chance. And he was like, it's because I don't want him to just ruin his life over this. In the back of my head, I understood. I did. I mean, he was my baby daddy. He was the father of my child. So, of course, I do want the best for him. But I wasn't convinced that he was going to do the best thing, because even though he was in school, he was missing school a lot. He was failing his classes because he wasn't showing up for school. He was spending all his time gambling and selling drugs. So even though he graduated high school as valedictorian, he didn't remain valedictorian-like in college. And I knew that. And I said, well, okay, I guess you give him a second chance, I guess. Another thing the judge told me, I remember, was that he pushed me to not keep my child away from that side of the family. He told me that he himself was a grandfather and that if his grandkids were kept from him for any reason, it would break his heart. And he just pushed me to just not keep my daughter away from the family. And so that's something else I would say, is to not just push the entire family away from your abuser's family just because your abuser is an abuser, because family is still family. Even though you don't have anything to do with them, find somebody who is trustworthy to take care of your child, to watch your child, to be there for your child. And if you can't find anybody, then at least, take your child over to see the grandparents, and to make sure they keep a relationship ongoing with your child if they desire that. And so that's definitely something I took away from that incident. But from there on out, it was over between us. It was over and done. The judge told me that if he had broken my fingers, that it would have been a felony though, and that he wouldn't have been able to do anything with that. But because my fingers weren't broken, he skirted that. And basically God gave him another chance, I feel. So that's my story. It was like God opened my eyes and he was just like, why are you living like this? Literally, why are you living like this? This is not the life I have for you. And so I would say to you, any of you women out there who are dealing with abuse, why are you living like this? That is not the life that God has for you. It never has been, never was, never will be. And if you're married, that's more than a reason to divorce. So that's kind of a snippet of my life with an abuser. And so let me get myself together, and then we're going to come back with the handbook to follow for anybody who wants insight into how to deal with an abusive ex. How to deal with an abusive ex. Recognizing abuse. Recognizing abuse is like peeling back the layers of a painful truth, and it's not always as clear-cut as we'd hope. Abuse can be insidious, creeping into the fabric of our lives in various ways. Here's a closer look at the different forms it might take. Physical abuse. This is the most visible form and involves any intentional use of force that causes injury or bodily harm. It could be slapping, punching, or more subtle actions that leave lasting scars. Emotional abuse. Sometimes wounds aren't visible on the outside. Emotional abuse chips away at your self-worth, leaving you feeling diminished, controlled, and isolated. Insults, constant criticism, or manipulative behaviors fall into this category. Verbal abuse. Words have power, and when they're used to harm rather than heal, it becomes a verbal abuse. Name-calling, yelling, or persistent humiliation can leave deep emotional scars. Financial abuse. This is a form of control where someone uses money as a means to manipulate and dominate. It can involve restricting access to funds, forcing financial dependence, or even stealing. Gaslighting. A more subtle yet profoundly damaging form of abuse is gaslighting, where the abuser undermines the victim's reality, causing them to doubt their perceptions, memories, or even their sanity. Now, recognizing these signs might stir up emotions or memories you've kept hidden. Trust yourself and your feelings. If any of this resonates with your experience, remember, you are not alone. It's time to acknowledge what you've been through and take steps towards healing and liberation. Impact on mental health. The toll of abuse extends far beyond the visible scars, seeping into the very fabric of your mental health. Understanding this impact is crucial for the healing journey. Let's delve into how abuse can affect your mental well-being. Anxiety and depression. Living under the shadow of abuse often breeds anxiety and depression. The constant fear, uncertainty, and emotional turmoil create a breeding ground for these mental health challenges. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Survivors of abuse may grapple with PTSD, experiencing intrusive memories, nightmares, and heightened reactions to triggers. The trauma lingers, shaping day-to-day experiences. Low self-esteem. Emotional and verbal abuse chip away at your self-worth. Over time, you may internalize the negative messages, leading to a profound sense of inadequacy and low self-esteem. Trust issues. Abuse, especially when perpetrated by someone close, shatters trust. Rebuilding trust becomes a daunting task, impacting relationships and the ability to connect with others. Difficulty forming attachments. Intimate relationships may become a minefield, as the fear of vulnerability and potential harm hinders the ability to form healthy attachments. Coping mechanisms. Many survivors develop coping mechanisms to navigate the pain, such as substance abuse or self-harm. While these strategies provide temporary relief, they can exacerbate the overall impact on mental health. Recognizing how abuse has shaped your mental health is a crucial step towards reclaiming your well-being. Remember, seeking professional help and surrounding yourself with a supportive community are powerful tools on your journey to healing. Setting boundaries. Empowering yourself after abuse involves establishing firm boundaries to safeguard your well-being. Let's explore how to set and enforce boundaries effectively. Identify your limits. Reflect on your needs, emotions, and triggers. What makes you uncomfortable or anxious? Understanding your limits is the first step in setting meaningful boundaries. Communicate clearly. Clearly express your boundaries to others. Use I statements to convey your feelings and needs without assigning blame. For example, I feel uncomfortable when. Consistency is key. Enforce your boundaries consistently. This sends a powerful message that your limits are non-negotiable. Consistency reinforces your commitment to self-care. Learn to say no. Saying no is a powerful act of self-preservation. It's not selfish, it's self-respect. Practice asserting your needs without guilt or apology. Trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, trust your instincts. Your intuition is a valuable guide in recognizing situations that might compromise your well-being. Seek support. Share your boundaries with trusted friends, family, or a support group. Having a network of understanding individuals strengthens your commitment to healthy limits. Establish consequences. Clearly communicate the consequences of crossing your boundaries. This reinforces the importance of respecting your needs. Remember, setting boundaries is an ongoing process. As you navigate this journey, prioritize self-compassion and celebrate each step toward a healthier, more empowered you. Safety measures. Now that we've discussed recognizing abuse and setting boundaries, let's focus on safety measures to protect yourself. Emergency contacts. Maintain a list of trusted friends, family members, or professionals who can provide support in case of an emergency. Share this information with someone you trust. Safe spaces. Identify safe locations where you can go in case you feel threatened or need a break. These spaces should be easily accessible and known to people you trust. Self-defense techniques. Consider learning basic self-defense techniques. This knowledge can boost your confidence and provide a sense of empowerment. Many communities offer self-defense classes. Secure communication. If you're concerned about privacy, ensure your communication is secure. Change passwords regularly, use secure messaging apps, and be cautious about sharing personal information online. Legal protection. Explore legal options available to you, such as obtaining a restraining order. Consult with legal professionals to understand your rights and take necessary steps to ensure your safety. Financial independence. Strive for financial independence to reduce dependence on the abuser. Create a separate bank account if possible and plan for your financial security. Safety plan. Develop a comprehensive safety plan that includes steps to follow in various scenarios. This plan should address your specific situation and be adaptable to different circumstances. Remember, your safety is the top priority. If you're unsure about any safety measure or need assistance, reach out to local organizations or support services. You are not alone, and there are resources available to help you on your journey to safety and healing. Legal options. Now, let's delve into the legal aspects of dealing with an abusive ex. It's crucial to understand your rights and the available options. Restraining orders. A restraining order, also known as the protection order, can provide legal protection by prohibiting the abuser from contacting or approaching you. Consult with a legal professional to determine if this is a suitable option for your situation. Legal consultation. Schedule a consultation with an attorney experienced in family law or domestic violence cases. They can provide personalized advice based on your circumstances and guide you through the legal process. Documentation. Keep detailed records of incidents, injuries, or threatening behavior. This documentation can be valuable if you need to present evidence in court or when seeking legal protection. Reporting to law enforcement. If you haven't done so already, consider reporting incidents to law enforcement. Provide them with any evidence you may have and be persistent in seeking justice. Child custody issues. If children are involved, address child custody matters promptly. Consult with your attorney to develop a strategy that prioritizes the safety and well-being of your children. Supportive services. Reach out to organizations that specialize in helping survivors of domestic abuse. They often have legal advocates who can offer guidance and support throughout the legal process. Remember, you don't have to navigate the legal system alone. Seek assistance from professionals who specialize in domestic violence cases. Your safety and well-being are paramount, and there are resources available to help you navigate the legal complexities. Seeking professional help. Now, let's discuss the importance of seeking professional help as you navigate the challenging terrain of dealing with an abusive ex. Your mental and emotional well-being are crucial during this process. Therapy and counseling. Engaging in therapy or counseling can provide a safe space for you to process your experiences, heal from the trauma, and develop coping mechanisms. A mental health professional experienced in trauma and abuse can offer invaluable support. Support groups. Joining a support group for survivors of domestic abuse can create a sense of community and understanding. Sharing your journey with others who have faced similar challenges can be empowering and comforting. Hotlines and helplines. Various hotlines and helplines are available to offer immediate support and guidance. These services are often staffed by trained professionals who can provide information, resources, and a listening ear. Legal advocacy services. Many organizations that specialize in domestic violence also offer legal advocacy services. These professionals can guide you through the legal process, ensuring you are informed and supported at every step. Emergency shelters. If you are in immediate danger, consider reaching out to local domestic violence shelters. They provide a secure environment, often with trained staff who can assist you in assessing additional resources. Remember, seeking professional help is a sign of strength, not weakness. You don't have to face these challenges alone. Reach out to the available resources and build a support network that prioritizes your safety and well-being. And I'd just like to add at this point, you may think that a lot of these things cost too much for you, including therapy and legal services. But there are free options for those who need it. So please, don't let money stop you. Reach out to someone because there's always someone out there willing to help. Self-care strategies. Now, let's shift our focus to self-care strategies, crucial tools to help you regain control, nurture your well-being, and rebuild your life after dealing with an abusive ex. Prioritize your needs. Start by acknowledging your own needs. I'm going to say that again because this is crucial. It's very important. Prioritize your needs. Start by acknowledging your own needs and making them a priority. This might include ensuring you get enough sleep, maintain a balanced diet, and engage in activities that bring you joy. Establish healthy boundaries. Set clear boundaries in your relationships, both personal and professional. Clearly communicate what you are comfortable with and ensure those around you respect those boundaries. Prayer and relaxation techniques. Incorporate prayer and relaxation techniques into your routine. Find peace in doing activities that you love. Physical exercise. Engage in regular physical exercise. Whether it's going for a walk or hitting the gym, physical activity can contribute to both your physical and mental well-being. Creative outlets. Explore creative outlets as a means of self-expression and healing. This could be through art, writing, music, or any other form of creative expression that resonates with you. Connect with positive influences. Surround yourself with positive influences, friends, family, or a support group. Building a strong support network is vital for your emotional recovery. Professional development. Invest in your personal and professional development. This can involve taking up a new hobby, enrolling in a course, or pursuing a career goal. Focusing on your growth can be empowering. Remember, self-care is not selfish. It's a necessary part of your healing journey. By prioritizing your well-being, you're taking significant steps towards reclaiming your life and creating a brighter future. As we conclude this discussion, I want to leave you with words of encouragement and empowerment. Surviving an abusive relationship is an incredibly inspiring and courageous journey. You've already shown so much strength by seeking help and healing. You are here to share your story with others. Recognize that there is vast potential within you. I don't care what he said to you. I don't care what he has made you believe. You have the ability to create a future filled with love, happiness, and fulfillment. Remember, your past does not dictate your future, and you have the strength within you to break free. Thank you and take care.